And we're back. So here's a couple of the designs I had finished a little bit earlier. It's super fun to play around. So, once you actually have your initial design, I could obviously add detail. For some reason, this kind of gives me like a ghost-esque vibe. I don't know. It just looks like a row of ghosts or people or something. That's what I'm seeing. But I can go in and play with color. Now, these are all kind of grouped together, and you can see what I'm talking about. Like, I had a bunch of my layers. Obviously, I should probably get rid of the ones that I don't need, but I can always go back in, ungroup, and I can add other shapes onto these designs and kind of lock them in and group them. So if I wanted to add more detail or even, maybe like a texture or something, I can do that with the pen tool or, the pencil tool when you're just kind of using some of those other things, right? So you don't just have to stop at the initial shape and playing with color. You're probably going to get lost in the color anyway. So it's fine if it is something that's this simple. But I just want to show you, this is a Tessellate design. It's one shape just kind of transformed across, and that's it. Duplicated a bunch and then working with individual colors and gradients to kind of create that C. But look how the gradients also create a lot of spatial depth. I think that's really fascinating. One of the other ones I kind of played around with, sorry about that. So this is one of the other designs I played around with. You can tell that, these are pretty ornate groups. I'm just starting to play around with the transparency. I'm just going to turn one of these off so you can see. Had to be that one though. So, this is how I did with those initial shapes. I used a teardrop. I stretched a teardrop, started with a circle, and just kind of kept repeating the process of excluding, making those additions, condensing, all those kind of shape options until I got to something that looks very much like stained glass. And, this is a geometric design. It's pretty simple to get something that's geometric to line up. I have those negative space gaps, but I can kind of play around with adding things around them and, behind them. But I also have, ghost layers. I can kind of even make it more ornate, almost like a cast shadow, and really start playing around with the intricacy of the design, right? So pretty interesting things that you can manage. This was the last one I wanted to show you guys. This was initially the first one, which is why there's a lot more time spent into it. You can see all the groups that are hidden. I have a problem. But here's a design, I worked on, kind of still layering those shapes, but I also worked with the transparency of the colors. You can see how it creates those kind of third layers of colors and so on. And then I also, I'm just playing around with the color of the negative space by adding, another rectangle, right? This is, just a rectangle. It's very transparent. It's just kind of behind all of these purple doodads. But you can get really elaborate with this design, right? And you can see that, these line up, but they're not perfect. I still have these little gaps, but the more that you kind of repeat the process and play with the color, the more it's going to kind of allow you to not only play with color interaction, but just, the negative space shapes and what you can do with that kind of dead space in your work, right? And so you guys can get as elaborate or as basic with this, because part of the learning curve is just going to be learning the process of the program, right? And so there are plenty of things in this program that I did not show you. The snapping grid, that's always a good option. If you struggle, to kind of grid things out, there are some other things that are there to kind of help you. But Vector also has a slew of help buttons and tutorials. So I just wanted to kind of show you, my own videos so you know about what I'm looking for in this tessellation project. But, the design's totally up to you. The shapes are totally up to you. But don't get frustrated with the process. Things do freeze, just give it a second. You're not going to do it in an hour. Take it slow and just have fun. I'm here if you need me. You're always welcome to text, email, or, send me a message and set up a time to meet via Zoom. And we can kind of do this exact thing where I'm kind of walking you through the steps, right? So good luck, have fun, and just experiment with the process.